I'm gonna be out of town for a few days, and so while I'm focusing on making actual Dendro videos and testing everything, I wanted to make this one on stream live, so that way you guys could have some idea of what I'm gonna be testing over the next few days when I'm kind of MIA. So there's been a lot of new things revealed about Dendro and Electro, and actually all sorts of other reactions with Dendro. On the live stream we had yesterday, there was like a ton of new things revealed, so I'm really excited to talk about those today and talk about what characters we think are actually going to be receiving lots of improvements when Dendro releases and during the time of Sumeru. If you guys are interested in these types of videos, if you like these kinds of videos, make sure to come check out the Twitch. It's where we recorded this all live at twitch.tv/Braxophone, and you can go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to see more. I'm also going to be posting some more Tower Fantasy content. If you hate that game, sorry about it. I'm going to post it anyways. I enjoy the game. As you already know, there's tons of new reactions. Obviously, you have your Bloom, which is going to be your Hydro Dendro. You have your Hyper Bloom, which is Electro Dendro, and Burgeon, which is Pyro Dendro, and those only happen after the Bloom is initiated. The Bloom is going to be what spawns a Dendro core. You'll be able to see this on screen, not right now because I'm on live. I'm twitching right now. I'm twitching really hard. You also have one that's going to apply Quicken to enemies, which is going to be your Electro Dendro, and what that does is it allows you to proc Aggravate or Spread. Now, to make this as simple as possible, lots of people think Aggravate and Spread is like, oh my gosh, there's reactions within reactions. It's going to be so difficult. It's not that bad. Aggravate is just the one that's Electro, and Spread is just the one that's Dendro. That's it. Spread buffs Dendro damage, Aggravate buffs Electro damage. There you go. Quicken is basically, you can treat it like a freeze aura, where it's an aura that remains on something until you like break it. But burning you also have as well. Now, I think burning is going to be kind of gigacope, so we're not going to talk about burning as much. I think that burgeon is going to be one of the more important ones that we're going to be talking about with Pyro, but in general, I think burning's not going to be that strong. We could find out I'm wrong, and obviously I will let you know when the game officially releases that sort of information, but as of right now, I don't think burning's going to be that good. So I want to talk about some different teams we can use, but first let's talk about the artifacts, because that will directly affect what kind of teams we can run. So as you guys can see, we have Deepwood Memories and we have Gilded Dreams. Deepwood Memories is going to be your Viridescent of Dendro. It's going to be Dendro damage bonus plus 15%. And then after elemental skills or burst hit opponents, the target's Dendro resistance will be decreased by 30% for 8 seconds. This effect can be triggered even if the equipping character is not on the field. Now this is insane. The thing with this set that makes it like super good is that you don't actually have to be a Dendro character to use it. You can use it off field and like that's great, but you can actually just set this on any character that would normally take something like Noblesse. If you have two characters that can use Noblesse, you give Noblesse to one of them, you can give this to the other one, and they're effectively buffing all your Dendro bonus, and that's also going to buff all of your Dendro reactions that deal with Bloom. All of the Bloom reactions for Dendro deal Dendro damage. So that's going to be lowering Dendro resistance for enemies, and that's going to be making all of your Bloom related reactions dealing more damage, which is going to make this set pretty dang good. Wasted 2-piece? Probably. 4-piece set, very good. So I think that's gonna make this set like definitely worth farming for. Obviously, it's gonna be worth farming for both of these because we have a whole new element to deal with. So you'll definitely want to get a set of both of these. But Gilded Dream, we have the Elemental Mastery plus 80 for the 2-piece set, which is, you know, it's pretty decent. Basically, you get attack buff for every party member that has the same type as the character equipping this, and you get Elemental Mastery for every party member that's different from the character equipping this. Effectively, you get just a ton of Elemental Mastery from this setup. It gets up to a max of 3 character bonus. So the reason I think this set is going to be very, very good is because Elemental Mastery is going to likely be what makes Dendro like tick, right? The Dendro is likely going to be greatly influenced by Elemental Mastery, and considering how they treated Animo, we can assume that leveling up characters is also going to scale your Dendro damage in a lot of cases, which means that like it's probably going to be pretty strong. They also want to basically take away Vaporize meta and like Reverse Melt meta, just because like they've been so strong for a while. They want to shift the game. They want to spice it up, which makes me think that EM is going to be the way to go. So with that in mind, I think that this set is going to be very good for a lot of characters. You might find that this is actually good on KUKI. You might find that this is good on YAE. I'm not sure what the damage is going to look like, but now that it's out, people can start calcing damage, which is going to be pretty cool. So we'll likely see some sheets relating to this and other characters soon. I also think that if Aggravate and Spread are based off of Elemental Mastery and they increase in value with Elemental Mastery, then we may find that characters like Fischl, who can use Stringless very, very well because it gives them damage bonus on their burst and skill, but like also like being able to trigger elemental reactions like this with EM is going to be really, really good. But there's a lot of secret winners as well. There's a lot of characters that are also going to be very, very good that people don't want to talk about because I don't know, because we're on the internet. So let's talk about some people that can use this set. So obviously Fischl is like a very clear winner. She's going to be able to work with Dendro a lot to do aggravate damage. And one of the things that makes Fischl actually extra good here is going to be her Ascension 4, which is going to basically, as far as I remember, it has no ICD. ICD. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but this is going to essentially just deal extra electro damage, which is going to be more procs, which is going to be a lot more damage. So you have this, you have characters like Fischl, but you also have characters like YAE. She's not going to be as good as Fischl for this, but she does deal a lot of electro damage, and since her targets are randomized, odds are she's going to be applying electro slightly more than the average character. Because ICD is 3 hits or 2.5 seconds, if you have multiple enemies around you and you're targeting random enemies, you're going to be hitting like all of the different enemies at different times, and odds are you're going to be applying electro fairly often. So I think that YAE could actually benefit from this a lot. And then also considering that she gains damage bonus on her turrets based on her elemental mastery, I really think that like Hoyoverse knew what was coming. They 100% prepared YAE for Dendro, and they prepped KUKI for Dendro as well. The thing is with KUKI, she also has EM scaling that's going to increase her healing. The thing is like it's not insanely strong. Like her healing is not going to be absurdly good, but because of her ICD, she's going to be able to constantly be the trigger for things, and her damage will as a result get massively increased. I genuinely believe KUKI is going to find a lot of use in Dendro. You also could use her effectively in something like Hyper Bloom too, but that's for a different reason, which we will talk about in just a second. I want to talk about one more character. I think Lisa is also going to be a little bit better. I don't know if this means anything for on-field Lisa. To be honest, I don't really think so, but I do think it means we can expect a little bit more damage out of her, considering she gets elemental mastery scaling as she levels up. 100% Hoyoverse kind of knew about this. Like 100% Hoyoverse meant for her to be used with Dendro and when Sumeru came out, considering like EM is the way to go with Sumeru, and because she's Electro. Like, I don't know, it seems like way too obvious for me. And because you can use her with Thrilling Tales already, and she lowers defense, I think that's Lisa's gonna become even more worth using when Dendro comes out. Okay, but let's talk about Bloom reactions real quick. So we're gonna pretend Animo MC is Dendro MC, right? Just because it's, you know, it's kind of green. It's a little green. I think that this team, or like these three, are going to be a core to a good team. I haven't figured out what I think the fourth one will be yet, but I have a really good feeling about it. So let me kind of explain the idea here. Let's just assume that Dendro MC applies a decent amount of Dendro. Kokomi is able to outpace Thoma in his Pyro application, which effectively means that you are going to be proccing Bloom instead of burning. You may hit a burning or two, but you're mostly going to be proccing Bloom, right? What Bloom does is it creates the Dendro core. It's going to be the little speed that's gets spit out right over here, right? And that's going to be pretty good. What that allows you to do is either trigger Hyper Bloom or Burgeon, and Burgeon is an AoE Dendro damage explosion that has to do with when you apply Pyro to one of the cores. Now, as you know, Thoma has standard ICD. Thoma's going to be applying Pyro once every 3 hits or once every 2.5 seconds with his burst shield, right? As we attack, you see this goes out. It's a very slow application. But I want you guys to think about something. So the way internal cooldown works, chat, internal cooldown is based on the enemy or the object or thing that gets hit. So when you attack something with Thoma, if there were 2 enemies in front of me, like let's say this let's say this rock and this rock are 2 different enemies, right? I attack this one, it gets Hydro. I attack this one right after, it also gets Hydro on it. I attack this one 2 more times, third attack applies Hydro again. Attack this 2 more times, third attack, Hydro again, or by the timer, you know, it could be faster than that. Oh, so what that means is essentially, like, if I were to hit 1 Pyro hit on this guy, and I hit another Pyro one on this one, they would both be getting Pyro on them. And so what this means for Bloom is that when you have a Dendro core, it spawns as a new entity, right? It's gonna be its own thing. You hit it once and the reaction activates. What that does is it means ICD basically doesn't matter. Like what it means is like you can hit the Dendro core, it's gone, and if you spawn a new Dendro core, you can apply Pyro or Electro to it again right away. So that means with someone like Thoma, effectively, just in a hypothetical scenario, if you were able to produce a core every second, Thoma would be able to hit the core every second. Now that's not going to be the actual pace at which it happens, but it makes ICD a lot less of a problem. That's the same thing with KUKI. If you use KUKI in a Hyper Bloom team, every single hit that she does against a Dendro core is going to proc the reaction. So you think about it this way, applying Hydro and Dendro to an enemy, and then you shoot out a wave of Pyro, the core immediately is going to blow up and deal damage. Now I had a dream, chat, I had a dream that Burgeon can deal self-damage. But here's where I think Thoma becomes even better. I had a dream that they made Burgeon deal self-damage so that way they could try to nerf Pyro characters, right? But the thing is, with Thoma, you're producing a shield every single time you attack. If you use something like the new set on him, which I will bring over right now onto the screen, if you use something like this set on him, just hypothetically, right, you're able to trigger Dendro reaction, Dendro damage, and you're able to decrease Dendro resistance, which is going to buff his damage by 30% if he triggers a burgeon. Considering that with his shield, and Thoma could actually be a decent unit. His shield scales on HP, and you're gonna want to level him to 90 anyways for this sort of reaction to get the most damage out of him. So I guess what I'm saying, chat, is if you run a team with KUKI who's gonna be constantly healing and dealing like decent on-field damage, it's not amazing, but in her burst with high investment, she's decent, right? You can also use her with Clam or something if you wanted to, or potentially the new Dendro set, whichever one you prefer. You'll be able to take full advantage of this, get a lot of burgeon damage off, while also shielding yourself, not taking any self damage, and it's going to be actually good. I think Thoma is unironically going to be decent with Dendro. Am I saying build Thoma right now? You absolutely don't have to, but I do think that it's worth considering that he might actually see some play here pretty soon. KUKI has already been good, but KUKI will become even more useful with Dendro because of her Hydro application. Thoma has energy problems, we'll get to those in a minute, but you have this thing called Katane Cross. Increased skill damage, that doesn't really matter, the skill damage sucks. The character loses 3 energy, generates 3 energy. It has an elemental mastery main stat. I'm not saying this is gonna be the way to go, but I'm saying that this could be a weapon that complements this exact role. And so I genuinely believe that Thoma could actually see some use here in the future with Dendro. I think some of the biggest winners are going to be Thoma and KUKI for sure, because their value right now is so low in comparison to other units. But when Dendro comes out, their value will become significantly higher. Do I mean they're gonna be meta? I have no idea. I can't tell until I can test the characters myself, but characters like this, KUKI and Thoma, could receive like massive buffs indirectly as a result of Dendro existing. It's all going to be dependent on the Dendro characters, how much Dendro they can apply. So I'm hoping that Dendro MC is good. I'm hoping Kalei is good. There's one more thing though we need to talk about. I saw many people on Kazuha's banner talking about how Kazuha wouldn't be good with Dendro because he won't be able to react with Dendro. And I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding from some people on how Swirl actually works. So let me show you guys. Let me show you guys real quick how Swirl actually works. Let me find, will this work? All right, there you go. That's how Swirl works. Obviously, he absorbs pyro, but the way Swirl works is when you swirl something, you're actually just applying an element everywhere. Let me go find an enemy to do it on because it's gonna be a better example. Swirling these two together applies electro to the other helitral. Like the element that you swirl, it deals that elemental gauge to enemies. But I guess my point with this is that you can abuse Swirl even harder with something like Dendro that's gonna have more reactions. You guys know how soup teams exist? You know how soup teams can have, you know, your hydro, pyro, and electro all in one? And you can just have like overload, electro charged, like tons of different reactions going off at the same time. It's fundamentally the same idea, but with Dendro. I believe if you guys watch the Jeff's videos, I think he called it salad. Eat your greens, chat, eat your greens. So I want you guys to imagine something for a minute, okay? Animo can't swirl Dendro, right? We're gonna get pyro infusion here. And as you can see, there's all sorts of reactions going off all at once. It's like just a mess of reactions, and you're getting overload, you're getting electro charged when everything is all good. You're getting so many different reactions. So the same thing is going to apply to Dendro. If you have Dendro elements on someone and you swirl pyro, you're gonna swirl burning. If you swirl hydro, you're going to bloom. If you swirl electro or pyro within someone, like within a core that has bloom on it, you're also going to apply those elements. And in my opinion, that actually just makes Animo stronger. Obviously, okay, here's the downside. Viridescent loses a lot of value when most of the reaction damage coming out is Dendro, because you're not debuffing Dendro, unless for some reason you could swirl Dendro, but you're not able to swirl Dendro, right? And so with that in mind, you may not even need to use Viridescent. I'm gonna say Viridescent is very good. If you're using someone like Fischl, then like Viridescent could be already pretty good, increase your electro damage. But if you're building EM Fischl, that might not be as useful. And in that case, you could even justify running things like this, where you can just give even more elemental mastery to a character to increase their reaction damage. So like all in all, these sets are going to be really game changing for the meta when Sumeru releases. I don't think that like certain teams are going to not be meta anymore, but there are certainly going to be tons of teams that come up from the bottom and change how the game works. Viridescent will still be better when buffing Electro with Dendro. It depends, right? It's gonna 100% depend on the team that you have. Sometimes that set will be better. Most of the time, Viridescent will still be better, but there's going to be some interactions you're going to have where Viridescent won't be as good. So obviously, just, I mean, let TC do their thing. Let people who are theorycraft, come up with numbers, test things out. I'll be testing things out myself when I get early access to some of the new characters and new zones and stuff, just so that way I can bring you guys the most information that I have from my personal testing in conjunction with some math and numbers that I'll be running with some people. So with all that in mind, I genuinely believe that Dendro is going to buff a ton of characters that we didn't think were going to be super viable before. And I also believe Dendro is going to really shake up some of the team compositions. Some of the characters that we thought were more cope, some of the teams we thought were more cope, are going to be a lot less bad. With all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have enjoyed, again, just make sure to subscribe to the YouTube. Make sure that you have notifications on if you want to see more videos like this, and consider coming in to hang out on Twitch. Everyone here wants to see you guys here, every single one of them. Everyone here wants you to chat with them. Every single person. See, like some are saying bye YouTube. Yeah, we love you YouTube. Hi YouTube. Exactly. Bye YouTube frogs. Bye-bye. And I'll catch you guys next time.